Smart 24, driving business.
That Zabo is here for you to invest in bonds and securities. Dial star 292 hash to follow the prompts, but first you will be required to register with your NIN if you have no account yet. Star 292 hash for the MTN subscribers, and you'll be able to invest in bonds and securities after just 24 hours of your registration. Zabo is a platform by Altex East Africa. Zabo says my money, my future. Altex East Africa says do something new. The markets on the Zabo platform do open at 8:15 a.m. and close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time on a daily. These markets are only closed during weekends and during working,
no data, no problem. Zabo allows you.
So the other days you'll be able to invest in bonds and securities at your pleasure. And of course, Zabo, a platform by Altex East Africa, giving you room to invest in intangible assets as you grow your investments and grow your savings. Don't just save today, but save for investment. That way, it is very simple for you to see your money grow. And the more you see your money grow, the more you are definitely ready to shape yourself up for the future that comes up. Zabo, my money, my future. Altex East Africa, do something new. And so you can clearly see that it is a no hassle situation. You can grow your investments and your savings with Zabo. Well, pretty much the obvious situation now. Let's get into KARIBU East Africa as we switch our eyes to what is coming in from Kenya. Now, on updates coming in from Kenya, Kenya seeks a fresh $750 million loan from the World Bank. This particular loan, if you were to put it in incident, Kenya is in talks with the World Bank Group for a fresh $750 million loan. This one is a concessional loan to be secured before the end of June next year, before the end of this financial year, if I'm to put it in proper context. Now, that is roughly 92.1 billion Kenyan shillings that the Kenyan government intends to acquire as a loan from the International Monetary Fund, rather from the World Bank. And this will be Kenya's fifth loan under the World Bank's development policy operation. If you are to look at some of this situation now, this has seen the country access $3.25. That is approximately 399 billion Kenyan shillings. And also, on the other hand, if you're to follow up on the situation here, from the loan will actually be part of the 280.7 billion Kenyan shillings earmarked for external borrowing in the current financial year, 2022-2023. Not only that, the government had been negotiating for 126 billion Kenyan shilling, that is approximately 750 million US dollars. Now, the DPO is a framework through which the World Bank supports a member country's program policy and institutional actions, which are geared towards promoting poverty, promoting growth and sustainable poverty reduction. And Kenya is taking up that particular situation as well. Now, the development policy operation, which is abbreviated as the DPO financing, will be received by Kenya. And the first was received on June 10th last year, when the World Bank approved 92 billion Kenyan shillings at a total annual interest and service cost of 3.1% to the Kenyan government. And this one was part of the conditions that had been attached to the 2021 DPO developmental policy operation, where the country establishes an electronic procurement platform for the public sector and for more transparency and to weed out corruption. Now, the other conditions were reforms at the Kenya Power and the National Hospital Insurance Fund. There is also the National Treasury, which has said that accessing low-cost financing under the World Bank's DPO framework aligns with the ongoing efforts to steer Kenya towards a more sustainable fiscal path. Kenya had earlier planned to source $105.6 billion through external commercial financing, that is the Eurobond issuance, but shelved the same in view of a steep rise in the interest rates in the global markets as continuously going into that space. So that is something that you could clearly see what Kenya is actually doing in its global markets, and it's something that the Kenyan government is entirely working upon to ensure that some of these issues help it in the developmental and sustainable growth of the nation. Not only that, but also to mitigate effects that are leading to increase in poverty. As you can see, that is what Kenya intends to do with this particular money from the World Bank Group. And now we head to the investment index, which has ranked Tanzania highly in Africa. Just recently, the index as well did rank Uganda highly, an index from the African Development Bank. But this particular one is coming in from a time when Tanzania has been ranked one of the best investment destinations in Africa, and thanks to its regulatory framework, which has been highlighted as a strong one, then also the sound macroeconomic fundamentals and a vibrant financial market within the country. Now, this according to the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2022, an annual report highlighting economies with the most supportive environment for effective markets, such as the financial markets, like the banks and what have you. Now, others are a tax and regulatory environment. Then there is the capacity of local investors, macroeconomic opportunity and legality, as well as enforceability of standard financial markets master agreements within the country. Tanzania performed well in 5 of the 6 pillars, as you can see, with the positive outlook that Tanzania will be one of the fastest growing economies in the region, as the country's macroeconomic opportunity rose from 11 points to an index of 76 out of 100 in 2022 from 65 that was recorded last year. Now, speaking to reporters, the Finance and Planning Deputy Permanent Secretary Lawrence Mafuru reaffirmed the government's commitment to ensure stability as well as the continuity and predictability of the environment in which economic decisions are made, and this will foster a conducive environment that will as well attract more investors, not only locally, but as well as those from the foreign markets. Tanzania joined countries with sustainable products in the markets after the NMB Bank Tanzania listed the Jasiri bond. Then there is also the first gender bond in the sub-Saharan Africa, which is the Jasiri bond. Now also on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, that was as of April 2022. Now as a result, the country has gained a point in the market depth to 46, reflecting the recovery in the market from the COVID-19 pandemic and the revival of foreign investors' activities. So the European Exchange Regulation Act 2022 opened up access to foreign investors in the domestic debt market. This included following and allowing investors from the Southern African Development Community member states to as well participate in the government bonds market and vice versa. Lastly, from KARIBU, East Africa, meanwhile, there is something from Burundi, where the president of Burundi has pledged to work with the young people, the youth here in Burundi, to boost and grow Burundi's economy. So the president is set to support entrepreneurship programs that are actually involving the young people in the country, that will see the economy grow, because of course the young people are the future, and the future can only be sorted if you help these young people work upon their issues and grievances. Now, while addressing the business community in Bujumbura during a Taxpayers' Day, President Ndayishimiye said that the so-called investors are not contributing towards the country's development, out of which, if you're to look at the young people, need someone to actually help them and pull them up in case of difficulties. Now, President Ndayishimiye's comments did come ahead of his visit to Washington to attend the U.S. African Leaders Summit, where he's expected to travel with more than 40 Burundian business people. The president is now seeking to promote youth entrepreneurship while prioritizing and also financing of the Youth Economic Empowerment and Employment Program, which is an initiative of the Burundian government. Now, not only that, the government is now seeking to encourage industrialization within the country, not only within the capital of Bujumbura, but other cities in there. Now, according to the country's revenue authority, the first quarterly report of this year indicates that Burundi imported goods worth 500 billion francs, that is roughly 241.8 million US dollars of goods, while it exported only 52 billion Burundian francs. So the exports that Burundi had were worth $25 million, whilst their imports were outweighing the exports. The imports so far have been close to 241.8 million US dollars. So you can see the country struggling to at least hit some of those particular exports targets. But of course, the president says that he will be supporting the young people and the entrepreneurial developments of the youth to ensure that the economy will definitely grow. The fiscal deficit here is estimated to have narrowed in 2021-2022 in Burundi, and driven by low current spending, especially transfers and strong revenue collection supported by the various revenue measures in there. So that is it for KARIBU East Africa this morning. Let's head to the SMB International News. And with the international news, we start with TikTok, which has been sued by the state of Indiana over security and safety concerns. Now, the popular social media app TikTok has been sued by the US state of Indiana, and following this situation that, according to the Attorney General Todd Rokita, did say that TikTok's parent company ByteDance of violating the state consumers protection laws. The state apparently alleges that the app fails to safeguard young people and the privacy in there. Now, Indiana filed 2 lawsuits on Wednesday. The first one claims that the app exposes young users to inappropriate content, and in the other complaint, Rokita also alleges that TikTok does not disclose the Chinese government's potential to access sensitive information and consumer information. Then, as long as TikTok is permitted to deceive and mislead Indiana consumers about the risks to their data, those consumers and their privacy are easily a prey. That is according to the Attorney General there. Now, the complaint says that the app's algorithm promotes a variety of inappropriate content depicting alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. Not only that, sexual content, nudity, and suggestive themes and intense profanity. Now, it also claims that this deceives young users with age ratings of 12 and above on Apple and Google app stores. Then also Indiana is seeking an injunction against its practices, and then the civil penalties against the company for its unfair and deceptive conduct that they believe should be worked upon. Rokita said that the lawsuits are the first launched by a US state against ByteDance, the mother company of TikTok. Now, a TikTok spokesperson said that the safety, privacy, and security of the community is their top priority, so it is not something to be worried about, and so they are roughly being accused. So the app has age limiting and parental control features, the firm did reveal in the report, and the company is investigating and investing in further content controls to ensure that its users are not deemed victims. Now, the announcement of the lawsuits comes after other US states have drafted legislations to ban TikTok. This includes Texas, South Dakota, and South Carolina have prohibited the use of TikTok being used on state government devices. Now, last month, the head of the FBI said that TikTok poses a national security concern to the country. The Biden administration have been in talks with TikTok officials for months as they try to reach a national security agreement to protect the data of its hundreds of millions of users in the US. Now, TikTok is also facing legal challenges elsewhere. For example, in the UK, the social media company also faced a $27 million, £27 million, roughly $29 million fine for failing to protect children's privacy when they are using the same platform. And now we look to the other reports coming in from the European Central Bank, the ECB, as the consumer sentiment has weakened in the Eurozone. Consumers in the Eurozone expected inflation to be even higher and the economic growth to further slow down in the coming year, according to the European Central Bank. And according to the October edition of the bank's monthly consumer expectation survey, consumers' median inflation month increased from 5.1% in September to 5.4% in October, while their expectations for inflation 3 years ahead remained unchanged at 3.0%. Economic growth expectations were among pessimistic than the previous month, as the correspondents as well gave in more output in the next 12 months to decline by 2.6%. The data also showed that there was a 2.4% decline in September, and then also consumers saw unemployment rising even more sharply than before. They expected the unemployment rate to reach 12.5% on a year-on-year horizon, according to the European Central Bank. Now, consumers' estimates for nominal income growth over the coming year grew from 0.6% in September to 0.7% in October, while those for nominal expenditure growth rose from 4.5% to 4.7% in there. Now, the European Central Bank's monthly CES is based on an online survey of around 14,000 adult consumers in 6 Eurozone countries, including Belgium, Germany, Spain, France, Italy, and the Netherlands. So that is how the narrative is actually flowing slowly in there. Now, lastly, from the international news, we look at Japan's forecast to slide into recession as the economy may suffer a significant downturn in 2023. Now, according to Marcel Seelet, senior Japan economist at the consultancy, the recession is mostly driven by a drop in exports and also by becoming more cautious, which is typically what you see when exports start to fall. Japan recently reported a larger than expected trade deficit of $15 billion for the month of October. Now, statistics show that exports rose by 25.3%. That is lower than a year-on-year growth of 28.9%, which was seen in September. Meanwhile, imports soared by 53.5% on an annual basis in October, higher than a year-on-year growth of 45% in the previous month. The government is due to release a revised third quarter GDP report, as analysts did poll by the analysts that polled this at Reuters expected 1.1% annualized. Now, contraction for the July to September period, that it would follow a 1.2% contraction in the previous quarter, and this could mean that the economy is already headed for what is commonly categorized as a technical recession, or 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. So there is an assumption that the Bank of Japan will stick to its ultra-dovish monetary policy, and it will not start raising benchmark interest rates, especially amid recessionary concerns. So that is from the international space, and that is what is happening in Japan. But before we head into the break, just to quickly remind you that Zabo is here for you if you want to invest, and if you've not invested yet in intangible assets such as the government bonds. Now, start 292 hash for the MTN subscribers, and it will be as simple as that. It's a no hassle for you after you're done with registration, because your investment is just with your phone. And of course, you can invest with a minimum of just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. These markets are open at 8:15 a.m. and they are closed at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. The markets are only closed during weekends and during public holidays, but the other days you are free to invest in various bonds and securities. So wherever you are, Zabo is a platform for you. Zabo says, my money, my future. Powered by Alltech East Africa, which says, do something new. So the only thing that you can do at this particular moment, even in this cold weather, you can invest in securities with Zabo. Bonds are available on the platform you can choose from. After the break, we shall be heading into the third hour of the show, under which we shall be giving you the latest coming in from the world of sports, business, entertainment, business, and only that, the social media trends that were happening and more business updates. Stick around. Good morning.